Hey Southminster, good to see you. Good to be with you again. The writer Wendell Berry once said, "When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound of fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of the wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free." I love that poem. Berry's poem is entitled "The Peace of Wild Things." It speaks to his anxiety towards the current state of the world and how the only remedy to his anxiety is the peace of the wild things. In other words, the peace of nature. Berry's words, I think, contain a lot of wisdom for the current state of our world right now. Both the COVID-19 pandemic and the civil uprising are heavy, stressful things to live through. The peace of wild things may be just what we need to navigate both faithfully. That's because the natural world has a way of inviting us to reclaim a certain naiveness about life. Now, I'm not talking about a childlike naivety, which leads to a more explicit and innocent interpretation of the natural world. No, I'm talking about the kind of naivety that leads to what Sally McFigure describes as a mediated account, a well-informed, imaginative interpretation. The kind of interpretation that requires a poet's sense of aesthetics and a scientist's concern for detail, all wrapped up into one. The writer Annie Dillard sums it up the best in her description of caterpillars and elm leaves. She says, "There are 228 separate and distinct muscles in the head of an ordinary caterpillar. And there are 6 million leaves on a big elm. The 6 million leaves are toothed, and the teeth themselves are toothed." Dillard's descriptions, we wouldn't describe them as romantic or inspiring. After all, they're just facts. But they are amazing, and they leave us filled with awe. They also invite us to see a caterpillar not just as another bug, or an elm not just as another tree, but as two distinct and precious others created by God. The natural world, so full of diversity, beauty, and complexity, invites us into a deeper awareness and therefore a deeper relationship with it, with ourselves, and with God. Again, Dillard puts it best when she describes Earth as our neighborhood we should get to know. So starting this week, that's what we're going to do. This Sunday, we're starting a new sermon series called Nature as Neighbor. And I'm really excited about this series. I've been waiting a while to do this, actually. Now, have you ever thought about nature as your neighbor? More profoundly, have you ever thought about Jesus' command to love your neighbor as relating to nature? It is these two questions that we're going to address and explore in our series. Now, the goal of our series is not to encourage more of a romantic view of nature, nor is it to encourage a more scientific view of nature. The goal of this series is to encourage us to adopt a deeper ecology, fueled by God's promise that all creation will one day be fully redeemed and restored. Now, throughout the series, I'm going to be using and quoting all sorts of nature writers, poets, and scientists. And as you'll find, I get kind of giddy about this kind of stuff. So we'll be sure to put up a reading list on the website that you can check out. So check there. Learning to love others of the natural world as neighbor can also help us to learn to love those of a different race, a different gender, a different social class, and a different sexual orientation, like neighbor as well. And we can begin to see others, the natural world included, as distinct and precious others that should be loved just as we love ourselves. And that empowers us to want to stand in solidarity with both, which our world desperately needs. And that's important because right now the natural world, just like us, is groaning in anticipation of being fully redeemed by God, to quote Romans. Now I want to close with the words of a song called Wash Me Clean, written by the Christian band Page 116. It goes like this. In these days, barren fields will sprout trees. The deaf and blind will hear and see. The dead will raise and begin to breathe. The earth will groan in pain to see the sons of God declared to be His full and glorious family, the beautiful, perfect bride of Thee. Have a great week, Southminster. We love you, we miss you, and we hope to see you soon.